Growing up, my best friend's dad across the street from us in wonderful Fawn Township, Pennsylvania, was a Methodist pastor. And so Brett's dad was this guy who I became really good friends with, and in many ways was a mentor to me. And one summer, I was a very bad Catholic boy. I went to Methodist Vacation Bible School. Unheard of in the Rourke household. Unheard of. And I remember in that vacation Bible school, I was probably like, third or fourth grade, everyone received little pieces of paper. And on those little pieces of paper, like a fortune cookie piece of paper, was pasted on a little tiny mustard seed. And that scripture verse we just heard. And everyone was given those. So you can imagine a rolly bunch of fourth or fifth graders getting these little pieces of paper with seeds stuck on them. And we were taught, I remember that night, about that verse. If you had faith, only the amount of a mustard seed. And I still remember that Bible lesson today. So I guess a very successful Methodist Vacation Bible School with that Catholic boy that my parents still were very skeptical of sending me to go. If you have faith just like a mustard seed. I think Jesus, who always picks out these common things of life, like a mustard seed, which, if you don't know, it's about the size of a radish seed. Actually, they look almost identical. Small, insignificant, you could probably drop it and nothing really happens. You forget about it. But still there. I remember Reverend Wagner telling us about that statement and how he always would carry his fortune cookie mustard seed in his wallet. Because he said sometimes life becomes just too much, too overwhelming, and sometimes you need to pull out your mustard seed and remember that verse. And I think that's something that we always need to be reminded of too. Is that sometimes as people of faith that we try to follow Jesus, it's sometimes hard. It's really hard. How many people I've talked to in recent weeks and months have said, I don't even want to turn the news on. It's just too depressing. That's what the Home and Garden channel's for. Or I have a bunch of friends who are all Hallmark movie fans who need to watch those. Dreadful. I can't go outside into the world because it's just too much. Just too much. The world's just too much. But unfortunately, we can't. We're a part of the world. We have to go to work. We have to engage in the world. We have to engage with our friends, our family. We can't just throw the blankets over our head and pretend the world doesn't exist, or that the struggles of our life don't exist, or the struggles of the world don't exist, because they do. That's when you have to pull out the mustard seed and say, if we just had that tiny speck of faith. Jesus isn't asking us to have this speck of faith that's big, or everything. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. And I think sometimes Christians like to shame each other out that you're not checking all the boxes. There are some religious traditions that are like that. If you don't buy into it totally, you can't belong to the club. And I've always said to people, we're always struggling. At least in our Episcopal Anglican tradition, we all know our three-legged stool, folks. Scripture, tradition, and
reason.
Thank you. Bonus points to the background. Reason. We're given scripture, tradition, and reason. That three-legged stool that Richard Hooker said so many centuries ago. That reason, that idea of questioning, is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It's because God gave us a brain to explore deeper into the mysteries of God. And sometimes that exploration is hard. It's tough work. Sometimes it's not easy, sometimes it's downright messy. That's when we pull out the mustard seed and say, if I just had a little faith, I don't have to explain everything. I don't need to get a PhD in theology. I just need to have a little faith. And I think that's the beauty of what Luke's gospel is about. Luke is very, very humble. He's concerned that Jesus reaches out to these fringes of the world. The fringes of people that struggle and are messy and not perfect. And maybe that's what we need to constantly remind ourselves, is that we don't have to be perfect. We don't have to have everything explained. We don't have to have everything in our head where we check off the boxes and say, I'm in. There's no question about it. Sometimes we have to have those letters of grayness in our life. It's interesting that this weekend we commemorate St. Francis of Assisi. And for most of us, St. Francis evolves around pet blessings, which we had a great horde of dogs yesterday, and a chicken. Of course. Because it's New Hope, we have to have a chicken here. And that's St. Francis on one level. That's the exterior of St. Francis. But I think the part of St. Francis that doesn't get paid attention to is the St. Francis that struggled his life with faith. We don't get to hear that story that much. St. Francis was the playboy. He was someone who caroused women, loved to party, loved to drink it up, lived a pretty rich lifestyle, and gradually through his life, that he realized that lifestyle was not really where God wanted him to be. There's that great story that when Francis was walking with his party friends, he came across a bunch of lepers. And he was so repulsed by them. One tradition says that he ran away and threw up because he couldn't deal with the sight of these disgusting people with open sores and stench and the nastiness of it. But it was only when he realized that he needed to change his life that those lepers did not repulse him, but rather they were the ones that taught him all he needed to know about faith. And that's the side of Francis we seldomly hear about. The side of a man that struggled to go deeper and deeper and find where faith brought him to be. And Francis wasn't perfect, like all saints. Saints do not mean you're perfect at all. Rather, they're people that God works through, men and women. So we need to ask ourselves, what is our seed of mustard that we pull out every so often? What is that little speck of faith that keeps us going on our journey of life so that we don't pull the covers over our heads and forget about the world that we're part of? A life that's kind of messy, kind of difficult. What is that mustard seed? And we need to treasure it. We need to keep it in our wallets just like our credit cards and our money. Just so that we can pull it out when we need it. Remind ourselves, what is it that we hold on to dearly? And that mustard seed is more precious than anything else we can have in our life. More precious than anything else that keeps us going. More precious than anything material or otherwise. So ask yourself then, what is that mustard seed that you have? Where is it? And do you use it when you need it?